friends, how are you? This is Real Law State with Patti and Kate. Woo! Wait, it's also in Lee. Lee Green is here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so let's give her a woo woo. Woo 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 woo. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sometimes we make people dance.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you, did Patti tell you that?
No, that wasn't part
I left
of this.
that out. Oh, yeah. We get you in here and then we start the music. But we get in trouble for that one because we surprise them. So anyway, so Patti, why don't you start?
Well, Lee is somebody I've known for a little while now, and what I love about Lee, she works for Roger Keith and Sons in Marion.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about Lee as an agent that you can go talk to is her background. And because power is knowledge, and there's so many loopholes in insurance, I could talk on and on and on about case law and how they don't want to cover anything. So it's important to have an agent who knows the ins and outs of a policy. So Lee, why don't you give us a little bit of background?
Thank you so much. It's super important to know, and I would think that with your background, because you're putting people in new homes.
Yes.
So the first thing they're looking for is a really good premium, and that's not always what you want to be looking for. Yes, I understand that, that is very important, but there are all sorts of different types of policies that you should be looking for. A homeowner's, there's a regular homeowners you want to be looking for.
Well, I'm going to stop you because before you get there.
Okay, go ahead.
What's your background?
Oh, my background. I'm sorry. You're right. I've been in claims. I've worked in insurance companies. I worked at Roger Keith. I've just been there for 2 years. I started 2 years in September. I said, but I've been in the claims. I worked for Encompass Insurance Company, Aetna Insurance Company, the claims department for 28 years.
28 years.
28 years.
So you know your way around.
I really know my way around claims.
Because there can be some loopholes.
There are many loopholes, and I think it makes my customers, now that I'm writing the policy, it makes them very comfortable that I know how to walk them through the a motor vehicle accident or a total loss, or, talk to an attorney, or do they need an attorney, or, and you always need an attorney.
Oh my gosh.
So those are some of the questions that I can, that makes me a little bit unique in my position, because I'm not just part of the agency. I'm also have a really, long history with claims.
Right, because you're not just selling. Not that I would think you would do that anyways, but there are a lot of people who have to make quotas, or they're just selling.
Right.
And
so true.
You are actually out there advocating and trying to protect them by knowing what can go wrong.
You just make sure that they have adequate coverage. That's the worst thing that you could have, is you have a new home, and then the worst case scenario, and something happens and you don't have enough coverage. Crazy. And then something you've put all your money and heart and soul into, and you don't have enough coverage to rebuild your home.
Right.
It can be devastating to somebody.
Yes.
So.
Well, I think one of the things we were talking about before we went on live is you were saying there's a difference between an HO3 and an HO5, which I never heard of. So this is good. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so actually, let me stop for 1 second. So, and also, while you're doing this, can you we have a lot of people out there who are thinking of buying homes, first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
So to walk them through what it is, because all they know is they need an insurance binder.
Right, because usually you need a binder because when you're closing, so you want to get in touch with an insurance company. And if you wanted to get in touch with me, you would get in touch with, Lee Green at Roger Keith and Sons. We have 3 locations. One in Brockton is our main office. We have a convenient location on the Rotary in Middleborough, and I work in the Marion office. But the first thing you would do is, call your agent and find out if they can get you some quotes. And what's good about it is that we write so many different carriers that we really do have an option. We can put you with a specialty quote if you have, a pit bull. A lot of carriers don't write pit bulls, so we need to put you with the right carrier.
Yeah.
If you are renting a home, maybe you just need renter's insurance. If you're building a home, you would need a builder's risk policy, and you might not need it for a year. You could get it for 6 months.
Right. Okay.
So this is a lot of information, and it's really overloading for somebody who's a new time buyer.
Yeah.
So you can just put it to an agent to help you with that.
Well, what would you say? So on the HO3 and the HO5, what are I don't need you to go through all of them because we like to keep these around 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But what is a couple of examples of the difference between the HO3 and the HO5?
So the HO3 is more of a standard policy.
Okay.
So it would cover probably like 7 of your your main perils like fire and lightning were a few of them, but it may not cover flood, like flood to your basement, or it may not cover certain other perils. They're named perils on your policy.
Okay.
It just gives it more coverage. You know, it's a little bit more expensive, but it might be something that fits you, fits what you're purchasing.
And I think for one of the things that you and I had talked about a long time, and I bring this up all the time because I just find it so fascinating. So I have a hot water heater, right, or a hot water tank, I should say, in my basement.
Right.
So if that were to go and it just flooded my basement, I may not necessarily be covered for that.
There's not necessarily coverage. Like there's certain policies that if you put in place like a water pump, additional water pump coverage, that would be covered, but you possibly may not be covered for that under a regular HO3 policy. And sometimes you get credits for having like a water sensor in your basement that would beep if it overflowed, or if it was a sump pump, and like an automatic sump pump. So there's all different things that the companies give you credits for, and it's really something that you want your agency to look into for you.
And then sometimes just to add on those additional little things,
it's like an a la carte.
Yeah. And it's not huge money. It's certainly you could go crazy like anything else when you
could
go
go
on
crazy.
Amazon and keep adding things to your cart.
That's exactly. It's like a la carte. Just
Yeah.
like an HO5, you can just pick and choose the little like I suggested. Like if you were living in California, well, they're in more of an earthquake zone, so you could add earthquake coverage.
Yeah.
It's the same around here. A lot of people don't need flood insurance if they're not in the zone. However, if they didn't have a mortgage, but they lived on the water, they don't have to have it, but should they have it? They probably should have it.
Yeah, because your real estate's your biggest investment, so you want to make sure
Biggest
it's covered.
investment.
Yeah, and then every time you need to get something repaired, it's further down the road when things are more expensive too.
It's very true. So it's like when you're first buying a home, that's when you want to have everything in line with what you're building.
And I also think, I don't mean to keep taking the reins here, but so I think it's very important because I remember talking about when Mass had changed their laws and people could go straight to the insurance agency, and some of the biggest culprits. I always get in trouble for naming these companies on here, but I'm going to anyways.
Yeah.
So like a
She's
Geico.
minimizing risk.
Like a Geico, yes.
So like a Geico, a Progressive, where you can go directly to them. You skip the agency. Sometimes you can get a little bit cheaper, but they are.
It's sometimes they don't pay.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't say that. Other times I've just heard horror stories sometimes. Some of the horror stories I've heard is that, you're not getting personal attention. You can't get in touch with anybody.
A human.
People, you can't get in touch with a human. So it's always good to have somebody that you can trust and like go into and talk to about your loss. If not, you're just feeling kind of hopeless.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was listening to you guys earlier talking, and I know like my insurance agent is, we're in a very stressed, when we are getting people involved in buying a house, they're stressed. And they're so stressed, and they don't know. And I think one of the best things that can happen is that they have somebody who will sit with them, explain to them, not go for the cheapest, go for the best value.
Right.
Explain the situations of like the what ifs,
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, because we're quoting with so many different carriers.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we are looking at the cost as well. But if we can get the cost down and a great policy too, everybody's happy.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. So I'm always like, go for that personal experience. I mean, as we know in real estate, it's
Same
about
with you guys.
Yeah, well, it's like, we are consultants, and we are like, they work with us because they want to.
Right.
And I think your business is the same way.
Right.
So we, you want to establish that value and help them through the steps.
Right. And make sure things like your water, I don't know why I'm so stuck on the water heater, but I'm really stuck on the water tank. Make sure that's covered, people.
Yes,
that could be a big expense.
I would say that a lot of things too, like I said, my girlfriend just called me up and said, if a tree fell down on my house, is that covered? I said, yes, it's covered. I said, but you have different types of deductibles on each policy. So you have to know, like, now companies write what's called a named storm deductible. No, a named storm deductible.
Okay.
And what's that? So
Dorian will tell me about what they would do.
Right. So it's a deduct. Like you could have a deductible that's $1,000 on your homeowner's policy, and that would be in all peril. So fire, flood, anything that's covered under your policy, you would have $1,000 deductible.
Okay.
They stick it in. Sometimes what they'll do is to get the premium down, they'll put this named storm deductible in.
Okay.
And a named storm deductible isn't always bad. but it is a bigger deductible. So it would be like 2% or 5% of your coverage ag, which is what the dwelling is worth. So it could end up being like $18,000 deductible.
Oh,
wow.
But it's only applied if there was a named storm, such as
Dorian. Dorian was our last guy, right?
Or where's Hurricane Patty? I'm still waiting for that one.
Yeah.
If she comes, she's going to be
better be covered.
She's going to be a big one.
Patty comes. Oh my gosh.
You'll be covered.
So someone starting out, first step, they learn the value between the variations in deductible, the umbrella things they may need, the other items that they may need.
They would just come and talk to me, and basically I would get the information, their address of their home, you know, what their heat, what their the floors and what the roof is, and everything, what the house is, what type of house it is it a 1-family, 2-family, 3-family?
Right.
We would get the value of the home, and then we would quote it, and we would quote it with all the different standing carriers. We write with everybody, and
I always think that's a better option.
It's just such a better. Well, Massachusetts opened up, so now you can shop everywhere.
Which is good, because if you call like a Geico, you're getting Geico. Geico's not telling you what Travelers is charging. Yeah.
And a lot of things with Geico too, you have to be careful. They sneak people in. They give them a really low premium, but by the time they get the premium, then they find out it's a 6-month policy versus a 12-month policy.
And then they get 12 months. Can they even do that if it's a new homeowner?
They can do that.
They could do a 6 months.
But they think, oh, I got this policy for $600, and
sometimes the mortgage company won't allow that.
Yeah,
yes, you're right.
Okay, so
good point.
Now we want to talk about lying.
Lying.
Yes. So I have
Who's lying?
Nobody lies.
So I have a trampoline. You mentioned a dog.
Oh, so true. Well, there's underwriting questions, and you have to be careful about. And I'll tell you, you don't lie, because what's going to happen is there's an inspection on your home property.
Yes.
So can't hide
your
that
agent. It's going through all these questions. Do you have any dogs? Do you have any pets at all? Do you have any firearms? Do you have, do you have an oil tank and any pre-existing damage to the home? These are all questions they're going to ask you. And you can say no, but there's going to be an inspection. There's going to be an inspector coming to your home looking at your property.
And even if you did get past that inspection, if something were to happen and they came and saw the dog, or you
could be non-renewed.
Right. Yeah. Non-renewed and not covered, right?
Yeah, well, non-renewed meaning if they found out something that wasn't true at the policy on inception, that at the next policy, they would just non-renew you.
And I want to take that a step further. So let's just say you have the dog bite, or you've lied somehow, so you fraudulent representations to the insurance company.
Then they can outright cancel you.
They outright cancel you. That notice goes to the mortgage company. The mortgage company has the right to get their own policy on you. They're going to charge you all kinds of money, even though it's their own company, and there is nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So,
and then what happens is you go into a pool. And the pool is just like exorbitant.
I think, and again, when I say lie, I'm like, I think that people would consider it little white lies,
Right. But I just little white lies can turn into
they do, and that's what I always say to people. Like
I'm going to give you the side eye.
Little white lie.
Okay, well, listen. All right. I know that when people are starting, they don't have a lot of money, and I think the mortgage companies take the 12-month 12-month binder, and they're looking for ways to minimize their dollars. So I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
You can get a good policy for your money.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, most people, I would say you can get an HO5. Most people get an HO3 policy. It does cover the most.
What does the 3 and the 5 stand for?
I don't even know that.
That's my crazy
HO3.
Yeah,
it's a form
Homeowner 3 and Homeowner 5.
Homeowner 3. It's a form. That's what Homeowner 3 and Homeowner 5. It doesn't really stand for anything. It's just HO3, HO5.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about one thing that I think is super important too, not just the hot water tank.
Okay. We're moving off that.
Yeah. I'm just exhausted from that one. Because I think this is super important, especially when you're moving along. So your first time, you pass the first-time home buyer, and maybe now you're investing in other properties, and you have a car, and now you're kind of increasing your exposure to liability in different facets. You have more assets. What's the number one cheapest thing with the best value somebody can do?
Such a good point to bring up. It's an umbrella.
An umbrella.
Not just for a rainstorm.
Not just for, she couldn't wait to use that. Not just for a rainstorm, because an umbrella is such an inexpensive policy. And sometimes with some carriers, like Norfolk and Dedham, for instance, It's not even a separate policy. You just add it like an endorsement on the homeowners.
Okay.
And it can cost $200 or $300. And it's an umbrella, and you can add like $1 million coverage on all your homes and all your assets. It's just so important and so inexpensive. That would
So
be
it
my
kind of
number one.
sits like an umbrella over all the other policies.
That's exactly why they call it that.
I'm like so smart.
So again, the thing is what I'm hearing is don't try to get out with the least amount of dollars.
Yes.
Try to go with the best value and be as appropriate as you can with your insurance.
It's so true.
You know, because I think that,
right.
I mean, and I know like with medical insurance, we learn this the hard way when we take the wrong deductible, you know, and we go in whatever. But so,
and then something happens and you're just like, I can't afford this deductible.
Yes.
No, and then with that umbrella, what I love is for the few $100s a year, which really breaks down to, I don't know, what's that, $50 a month, or depending on which one you get, to have an extra $1 million sitting there. That
It's so true. They're just very inexpensive, and it's a coverage that a lot of people don't know about unless your agency talks to you. But it's really should be like a, you know, when we try to bundle, so we try to bundle your auto and your home. That's the best way to save value.
Okay.
The best way. So if that's what I would suggest for any new time buyer, like if they're getting a home, tell your agency to bundle it with your auto, because you're going to save a credit, like a big credit on that.
Awesome. That's good. A little tidbit.
Little tidbit there.
All right. And how do people find you?
Roger Keith and Sons. I'm on 153 Front Road. My phone number is 508-748-0194.
And we'll put that in the show notes for you too, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
I don't have the little car where I usually go, hey.
Yeah,
I'm getting much more sophisticated.
Yes, I know. So we'll type that in. And what is your last like thing, the nugget that you want to take them away with?
The nugget I want to take away with is just that an agent is super important. We're a great family agency, and we can help with any of your needs. So please give me a call. I'd be happy to work with you.
Awesome. And she's so pleasant to work with too.
Oh,
she hasn't smiled enough today, but she smiles a lot.
Nervous.
No, she's nervous.
You've done awesome. But hasn't she been awesome?
She's been awesome.
Yes,
lovely.
It is. It's really, you guys.
It's hard to be on TV. It's not easy to be out there. I don't know where to look.
I
I'm like looking at you guys both. I feel like I'm on top of them.
Yes. I know. We get cozy here. All right, friends, thanks so much. And again, check out Lee Green. And are you on Facebook and Instagram?
I am on Facebook, Instagram, Roger Keith and Sons, Marion, Front Street.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, there we go.
I always forget it's a two-step process.